Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back, everybody. Um, Quick disclaimer, this is not financial advice. This video is pure entertainment. So do not follow anything that you will hear in here. Now, close your eyes for a minute. I'm saying, imagine it's 10 years from now. You are picking up your kids from school with your dream wife. Your oldest one, who just turned 15. And he asks, "Daddy, how are we able to afford our penthouse in Manhattan?" Now, you're not gonna tell him some magic internet money made it happen. So, to help you out, I'm gonna explain you how Bitcoin works and the most important fundamentals in the simplest way possible. Now, to fully understand Bitcoin, we have to go all the way back to 2008, when someone called Satoshi Nakamoto, we still don't know if it was a guy, if it was a girl, so people might think it might have been a country or an institution. Well, this person published in a series of forums something called Hashcash. Hashcash, some people don't know, is the first name that Bitcoin was given. Hash, we'll talk about it in a minute, meaning of the hash rate, that it's fundamental for the mining of Bitcoin. Now, in 2008, he said he was getting ready to publish a white paper in which he described 4 fundamentals that make Bitcoin what it is today. Now, when the white paper was published and a lot of developers were already working on it, he decided to step out. This is the last email that we know from Satoshi Nakamoto directed to Mike Hurd. He said, "I do hope your Bitcoin J continues to be developed into an alternative client. It gives Java devs something to work on, and it's easier with a simpler foundation that doesn't have to do everything. It'll get critical mass when impatient new users can get started using it while the other one is still downloading the blockchain." Now, this is Satoshi's white paper. This is pure gold. I don't think there's been something more significant since the invention of the wheel. And I am not exaggerating. Now remember, we talked about 4 fundamentals that we were going to use to describe the Satoshi white paper. First one is a peer-to-peer decentralized network. And you can see he mentions peer-to-peer in the title of his white paper. Now, Nakamoto proposed a system where transactions could be conducted between users, otherwise called as peers. Now, this is very important because this would not have the need of a central bank or a intermediary. This decentralized approach could be achieved by nodes or computer that were the ones validating transactions and introducing them to the ledger. Now, we're gonna explain probably the most important concept in all this white paper, which is blockchain. Before going into that, I want you to understand what a public key and a private key is. Now, the public key, think it as your physical wallet, and then the private key, think of it as your credit card. Now, sometimes you go to a restaurant and you take out the wallet out of your pocket and you just leave it on the table. So everybody can see your wallet and everybody can know that it is your wallet. Though, nobody can access the money that you have on the bank unless they open your wallet and then they see your private key, which in this case is your credit card, and start swiping it. So your public key, it's public to everybody, as the name says. And then your private key, it's gonna be the key that you're gonna use to unlock any transaction that you're doing. Private key, if you give it to someone else, they're gonna have access to all of your coins in your wallet. Now, what is a blockchain? A blockchain consists of a public ledger that records transactions in a chronological order. Each block has a list of all the transactions, and each new block gets linked to the last one. This creates a record of all the transactions that have been made on the blockchain. We are going to talk about the third fundamental. Remember that we mentioned a decentralized network that didn't need a central authority for the transactions to be validated, well, you might be thinking to yourself, so how does these transactions get validated then? Nakamoto introduced a cryptographic system that he called proof of work. This system needs users that we're going to call miners that are going to be solving very hard mathematical puzzles, and this is going to add a new block into the chain. Now, the more miners we get, the harder it gets to solve these puzzles. This is a graph that shows how hard it has become through time to solve these puzzles. And this is showing the amount of miners joining every day. You've probably heard that the Bitcoin network has more energy than small countries like Ireland. And some people don't quite get a full grasp of this statement because they don't understand how Bitcoin consumes energy. Well, you got all the miners from all over the world connected using computers, and this is how they pull all the energy that people talk about. Stick to me now. We are almost there. This is the fourth concept, and it's how Bitcoin halving works in its limited supply. Bitcoin is said to have 21 million Bitcoins that will ever exist. This is a method of scarcity that will increase the price of the Bitcoin over time. Now, as of today, we've mined around 19,700,000 Bitcoin, a little bit more. And the Bitcoin halving was described in the white paper as something or a mechanism that we could use to have Bitcoins mined in a predictable rate. The halving means that every 4 years, the reward of mining a Bitcoin is going to be reduced in half. As you can see, January 2009, the reward was 50 Bitcoin. As of today, it's 1.56 Bitcoin. Now that you have a little bit of background on how the Bitcoin network works, you might be thinking to yourself, well, what happens when all the Bitcoins are mined? Because you know that the miners are basically what keep the network alive. Well, first of all, with halving, people estimate that we're going to mine all the Bitcoin in around 80 to 90 more years. We might not be even be around for that, but if cryptocurrency keeps evolving and Bitcoin as what it is meant to be, that is a store of value, keeps evolving too, then miners will still be receiving their their transaction fees. So this would motivate them to still have their computer plugged into the network. Of course, there's a lot more to this white paper, and it's very interesting, and I would invite you guys to read it on your own. But without going into programming terminology, these four aspects are, in my opinion, the fundamentals of how the Bitcoin ecosystem works. After this white paper was finished, a couple years later, one of the developers posted on a forum, if someone sends me 2 pizzas from Papa John's, I will pay 10,000 Bitcoins. And someone from a different country agreed, called the closest Papa John's and paid for the pizzas. Now this other gentleman received the pizzas, and that was the first transaction ever known that actually gave value to Bitcoin. After that, you know the story. For a quick summary of Satoshi Nakamoto white paper, we talked about a peer-to-peer decentralized network or user-to-user. We talked about blockchain technology and what it meant. We talked about proof of work and how it works. And we also talked about the limited supply and the halving mechanism on the Bitcoin. This is a very broad perspective of everything that the Bitcoin is capable of. Though, like I said, without going into programming terminology, it would be really hard to talk more about Bitcoin than we just did. Thank you so much for watching. I would really appreciate if you let me know what would you like to discuss next. I will see you until next time. Peace.